Award-winning farmer Peter Yalens leads the world in sustainable winemaking. Yalens wines are produced with a zero carbon footprint. It's world-class wine that doesn't cost the earth. Peter Yalens Wines, for the love of the land. Yalens Wines are proud to be a part of this edition of New Zealand Rural Structures. So Jamie, we're talking tanks, but over here it looks like something out of the Russian space race or the new planet. What are these tanks for?
Well, these are our underground vessels, and they're used in a huge variety of applications. People make references like hand grenades and things like that.
Yeah.
But you'll see the ribbing here. A huge amount of engineering has gone into getting this to be as strong as it possibly can, and we're confident it's the strongest underground vessel in the country. I think the days have gone where we had the very basic poured-in-place two-chamber septic tank. That's no longer acceptable.
Yeah.
We have to be smarter about what we do with our wastewater.
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing. So this particular vessel here, and it has a sister that's a little bit more of a ball, are used in applications for detaining rainwater or retaining rainwater in urban situations for councils. They're used as septic tanks, and they're used as grease traps in restaurants and things to slow down the fats from getting into the wastewater system. And they're also used in our wastewater treatment system, which is a full secondary aerated system that disposes of, instead of your standard septic tank which would dispose of what we call black water, it disposes of a clear odourless liquid through dripper line for irrigating lawns and shrubs and that sort of stuff.
Gosh, that's impressive. And what about for the likes of cow sheds and everything? Do you do any work with these?
Well, interestingly, the cow sheds are becoming more and more prevalent because a cocky never used to worry about having too much of an advanced septic system for the toilet at the cow shed. That's no longer acceptable, so we're starting to sell a lot of septic tanks into cow sheds.
Well, Jamie, here we've got a load of powder and a big drum. What's happening?
So this is the start of the process. So our mould is shortly about to put the dome back onto the mould. What you can see here, this external structure is the oven. This internal structure is the mould. He's put 375 kilos of powder in here, and when that's all closed up and the heat starts going on, we'll have our mould rolling and the powder laying up on the outside of the mould.
Now, part of what you say is that you're New Zealand made. Is it totally? Is this powder made in New Zealand as well?
Absolutely. Our key supplier of our material is V-Plas. They're based in Silverdale, north of Auckland, where they grind and produce 100% virgin food grade powder for our products.
Basically, Jamie, it looks like you're making like a chocolate couverture would make an Easter egg. You're doing that with plastic.
It's very much the same principle, absolutely.
Yeah.
So often it's misconceived that the line around the top of the tank is in fact a join, whereas in fact it's purely where the lid goes on the mould. The tank is entirely one piece.
Yeah. And that's another impressive thing, because so often, you think of the tanks and you think of the old galvanised one, had an extra top that was fitted in and holes bashed in them and everything too. So one piece, totally. So now we've got the tank all sealed up inside there, the mould and everything. What's happening inside that mould?
So the mould itself is continuously rolling around in a clockwise fashion inside that oven, and that's coating the side walls of the mould. And when you see this rocking action, that's getting the powder to lay up on the base and the dome of the mould.
So does that powder go into basically a continuous polymer or a continuous strand almost that's in the tank?
Yeah. Well, as the mould's spinning underneath the powder, every time it goes through, it just takes another layer of that powder, and through the process, by the time it's done, all of that powder's been used up on the side walls of the mould, and the cook will finish, and you end up with a beautiful shiny inside, which means it's been done to perfection.
Lovely. Now, there's a lot of pressure on the bottom of a tank. How how do you overcome that? Is there a differential between top and bottom, in other words?
There certainly is. But interestingly, on the floor of the tank, there's not a great deal of stress. It's pretty low stress. Where all your stress is that bottom edge, that bottom corner. And so through this process, we can really meticulously control where that material lays up. And so if you took a cross-section of our tank, you'll see a very thick bottom corner, like this, and then it tapers away up the side wall, where you only need sort of 8mm of material at the top, because it's not so much stress on it up there.
That's amazing. Now this tank's quite warm here, Jamie. What is the job that's being carried out here?
So this is the final stages of the manufacturing process, the last finishing touches where the boys do their trimming. They cut out the inlets, tap those through. We're the only company that mould in brass inlets, and we do them twice in every big tank. So 50mm threads are already there to go. Yeah. Plumbers love them because they can't cross-thread them.
Oh gosh,
so
yes.
It's a really big selling point for them. All those little bits and bobs get done. Soon Tom here will jump inside the tank and he'll start putting our tubular frame that's in the dome, which adds extra strength to the top of the tank. That was developed initially because of snow loading in the South Island, interestingly, but it's gone on to just become a very valuable tool to so people, when they're servicing their tanks, they can climb on top of them and know they're not going to cave them in when they're up there.
Now that's an important thing. The other thing is you have a non-shiny finish. I imagine that's going to be quite a selling point, because no sign of scratching or anything on it.
No, I think that's dead right. It's a little more forgiving, but interestingly, we just did it because we thought it looked better. But it's gone on to become quite popular because it's not glary, it's not shiny, and there's in fact some councils that have covenants in different areas where you're not allowed a shiny tank, which for aesthetic reasons on the countryside.
Now I look around here in your sort of little warehousing area, or waiting to be stored area. A range of colours, gone beyond Henry Ford, any colour as long as it's black?
Absolutely, we've got 11 standard colours. The most popular being mist green, the colour you've got right here in front of you actually, is our most popular colour. But 11 colours, and they're designed around matching off colour steel and aluminium joinery colours for when they're next to houses. But it does create logistical issues. If we were Henry Ford, we'd be able to just make lots of blank tanks and put them in the yard and wait for people to buy them.
Yeah.
But we have to make everything to order because you cannot physically store that many tanks.
No.
We've got 7 trucks a day leave here fully stocked with tanks. You can't stock too many days in advance, unfortunately.
So how many are coming out of these bigger tanks that we've just seen a day?
Well, it depends on the time of year because there are ebbs and flows, but the boys can be making anywhere from sort of 10 tanks a day, around there sort of thing,
Yep.
Of the bigger ones. The small tanks we can make a lot more. But that's in this Tauranga factory anyway.
You send all over New Zealand, and your website says you deliver, and yet you remain competitive.
I think it's a scale thing. We're the biggest in the business. We've got the most trucks. We've got the most gear. We can make a lot of product. We can do short order. One of our favourite things is when the after hours phones come directly to me, and if we can get phone calls a couple of weeks ago from a farmer on a Sunday. His tank at his cowshed had broken. He couldn't milk in the afternoon if he didn't get another tank, and so I managed to get one of my drivers. I looked after his son so that he could get down here. We pinched a tank off that was destined for someone else, and we got it to him that day on a Sunday.
Award-winning farmer Peter Yalens leads the world in sustainable winemaking. Yalens wines are produced with a zero carbon footprint. It's world-class wine that doesn't cost the earth. Peter Yalens Wines, for the love of the land. Yalens Wines are proud to be a part of this edition of New Zealand Rural Structures.